Welcome to Auto Mundial, the weekly car news and review show. This time, we're driving Kia's all-new Sportage. Is it as good as the superb Hyundai Tucson?
We also have Renault's new electric Megane and the facelifted Jaguar F-Pace.
Plus Mercedes' new armoured S-Class, and Skoda celebrates 120 years of competition with a restored 60s racer. That's all coming up, but first, the news.
Volvo is to invest 10 billion Swedish krona into its Torslanda factory ahead of its switch to EV manufacturing. The investment, which is equivalent to more than £800 million, will see the refurbishment of the entire factory to reduce its carbon footprint. The brand says that by 2030 it will only produce electric cars, and everything down to the paint shop will be operating as sustainably as possible. Part of the company's new sustainability shift will be the introduction of mega casting, a process whereby larger sections of a car's structure are made in one high-pressure aluminium cast, reducing the number of parts needed and the energy to create them, as well as making the car more recyclable at the end of its life. The investment at the Torslanda plant is a major part of Volvo's goal to become carbon neutral by 2040.
Believe it or not, it was almost 30 years ago that Kia first launched the Sportage, a small 4x4 available in a number of body styles. It set Kia on the way to becoming a household name in Europe. So keen was Kia, in fact, on appealing to a European audience, the original Sportage was built in Germany until 1998. Fast forward to 2022, and it seems Kia has more than achieved its goal. In January this year, Kia sold more cars in the UK than any other brand, and its best seller was the Sportage. Now though, there is a new one, but can it continue the success of its forebears? Well, straight away, there's no denying that this is a serious departure from the old car's conservative look. It looks fantastic, with bold new boomerang running lights accentuating the contemporary grille. The side-on silhouette of the car may be slightly more conventional, but it's still a looker with the unique C-pillar and big swanky 19-inch alloys on this GT line car. It is bold, yes, but if Kia is to head up market, this seems like the way to do it. Step inside and the interior is slightly less audacious, but no less up-to-date. The dashboard follows the current trend for long, thin, horizontal air vents, but mixes it up where the screen panel begins. The panel consists of two 12.3-inch screens, one for the slick infotainment system and one for the digital instrument display, which changes depending on your driving mode. Now that's pretty standard stuff these days, but we particularly like the blind spot camera images that pop up when you turn on your indicators. Under the bonnet, the new Sportage is available with myriad powertrain options. There are 1.6-litre petrol and diesel options, mild hybrids, full hybrids and plug-in hybrids, as well as front and all-wheel drive options. Power ranges from 113 brake horsepower in the entry-level diesel model up to 226 in the hybrids. Our all-wheel drive mild hybrid petrol test car produces 148 horsepower and can reach 62 from rest in 9.4 seconds. The ride quality isn't quite as good as some rivals, but not bad enough to put you off. Its performance is on the money though, and the handling is impressive with good feel through the wheel and minimal body roll.
The Sportage, though, has some stiff competition, not least its sister car, the new Hyundai Tucson. Like the Kia, this latest model has had something of a transformation with exciting new styling and a tech-filled cabin. It gets a similar range of engines too, with plenty of hybrid options. On paper then, there's not a lot separating them. However, the Hyundai starts at just over £29,000, but the Kia starts at less than £27,000, if you can make do with a manual gearbox and no hybrid system.
The new Sportage then is right up there with the best in class and a great example of how far the Korean brand has come.
As far as family hatchbacks go, the Renault Megane has always played second fiddle to its old German rival, the Volkswagen Golf. It is a fine car, but as much as reviewers praise it and judging panels award it, sales figures declare that it's the Golf that the buyers want. Now though, there's a new one, and it's not like we were expecting it to be. This is the Megane E-Tech, and as you can probably deduce from the name, it is electric. Putting the Megane nameplate on a new EV is a statement of intent, as it takes on VW's electric hatchback, the ID.3. And surely, if any manufacturer is ready to lead the way in electric hatchbacks, it's Renault. It's been building the Zoe for a decade now with enormous success. And then there's the French brand's alliance with Nissan. The new Megane E-Tech is built on an all-new platform that it will share with the new Nissan Ariya. It's about the same size as the existing Megane, but it's more spacious thanks to a longer wheelbase. The crossover styling makes it look bigger and chunkier than before, but this is still a family hatch rather than an SUV. While it is a big departure in terms of Megane styling, it's clearly a Renault with their sharp LED lights at the front and the brand's attractive new logo on the nose. The big wheel arches are filled by optional 20-inch wheels, while the clean modern look is completed with some flush door handles that pop out when you need them. The Megane E-Tech is available with either a 40 or 60 kilowatt-hour battery, with respective maximum ranges of 186 and 292 miles. Power is sent to the front wheels only, with base spec cars getting 128 brake horsepower, with top-of-the-range cars getting 215. Performance isn't particularly electric, with the higher power car reaching 62 from rest in 7.4 seconds, topping out at 99 miles per hour.
So how does its main rival compare? Well, like Renault, Volkswagen has played things pretty safe with the ID.3 when it comes to styling. VW didn't want its mainstream EV to stand out like a sore thumb on the road, and it doesn't. It's a smart-looking car with about the same footprint as a Golf. And this understatement continues inside. It's bang up to date and suits the car, but at the same time it does feel like it's been built to a price very un-Volkswagen. The bright cabin features a big central infotainment screen, like pretty much any other car in 2022, and it has a digital instrument display in place of traditional dials. In fact, the only real giveaway to its electric underpinnings is a lack of central gear selector, with forwards and reverse instead being selected via a switch on the instrument pod behind the steering wheel.
Like the Renault, it's spacious and practical, but we feel ourselves more drawn to the Megane. It looks fantastic, and the familiar Megane branding will appeal to buyers looking to get their first EV. While the Renault Megane may still sit in the Golf shadow, it certainly isn't in the ID.3s.
After the break, an armoured Mercedes and a classic Skoda race car. Still to come, the beautiful Skoda 1100 OHC. But first, we don't know about you, but here at Auto Mundial, we don't often get involved in high-speed car chases with baddies in pursuit. But for those that do, Mercedes, it seems, has you covered. This is the new S680 Guard, a heavily armoured version of its luxurious S-Class. Already a pretty special car in its own right, the S-Class has been thoroughly modified for world leaders and other security-conscious buyers. Although not apparent to the naked eye, it's based on an entirely new shell design. Compared to previous armoured Mercedes models, this is a completely new philosophy. Whereas previous cars were built using existing S-Class shells and fitted with bulletproof material, the new S680 Guard shell is made from scratch with materials with resistant properties. Alongside the new underbody construction are special door and window opening mechanisms. To support the added weight of multiple layers of bulletproof glass, the electric lifters have been ditched in favour of a hydraulic system. But that is just scratching the surface of what's been done. If the car is being driven through a cloud of gas or smoke, its air filtering system will pump fresh air into the cabin. While specially designed Michelin Pax tyres even mean a flat tyre won't stop you. None of these additions are gimmicks either. The car went through extensive testing at one of the most state-of-the-art ammunitions testing facilities. In fact, it meets the requirements for the highest civilian protection class of bullet-resistant vehicles. Good to know, even if you're just using it to pop to the shops. Part of the testing involved the car being shot at repeatedly with armour-piercing rounds. Inside the car were dummies made of simulated soft tissue and bone-like material, and they remained unscathed. It's a good thing the car is so good at withstanding fire, as at 4.2 tonnes it isn't going to be escaping particularly fast. Despite its whopping 6-litre V12 putting out 603 bhp and 830 Nm of torque. The car is limited to 118 miles per hour because of its excessive weight, while an all-wheel drive 4MATIC system for the first time in a Guard model keeps it all in check around corners. Step inside and it's a similar story to any ultra-expensive S-Class. The rear is where the magic happens, with business class seats, all sorts of media displays and the most luxurious materials covering it all. Now obviously this isn't a mainstream model for Mercedes, so it hasn't released any prices. We imagine though that if you have to ask, you probably can't afford it.
After nearly 7 years on the market, the Jaguar F-Pace has been given a much-deserved refresh. Among the long list of changes are a sleeker exterior design, reshuffled powertrain options and updated interior tech. As with most mid-life redesigns, thinner headlights kick off the updates with added LED daytime running lights similar to those found on the I-Pace. The front end also boasts a more bulging bonnet and a slightly more squared off grille. As a result, the front now looks more compact and almost loses the overinflated SUV look. Almost. Ironically, for a facelift, the rear is where the changes are the most noticeable. Following on from the original car, it is pretty much an adaptation of the new F-Type's rear end. The rounded taillights have been dropped for thinner, more minimalistic streaks, and the boot lid has been given a few extra curves. Inside, both drivers and passengers alike benefit from an even more luxurious interior. There are various bits of tech that have found their way into the car, notably a new infotainment system, which we've now seen on a few different JLR cars. The screen in the middle of the dash has grown from 10 inches to 11.4, and the Pivi Pro system powering it has also been upgraded with a new homepage layout, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, as well as Amazon Alexa, thanks to a recent over-the-air update. That works in conjunction with the heads-up display feature, if it's been ticked on the option list, that is. There are several engine configurations available for the F-Pace, the most interesting of which is a new turbocharged 2-litre petrol 4-cylinder combined with a plug-in hybrid assistance. The 6-cylinder is also available in either turbo or supercharged forms, along with a quartet of diesels.
However, the thorn in the Jag's side is this, the Porsche Macan. Often lauded for its dynamic ability, the Macan is a convincing attempt to make SUVs fun to drive. Like the F-Pace, the Macan gets a great range of engines, especially at the top end of the price list. The cabin isn't quite as stylish as the Jaguar's, but it's beautifully made and logically laid out. Just prepare to be constantly wiping greasy fingerprints off those screens and touch-sensitive control panels.
Thankfully though, if driving quickly in SUVs is your thing, the Porsche is not necessarily the obvious choice. JLR's Special Vehicles department has worked its magic on the F-Pace. It's called the SVR, and with a 542 horsepower supercharged V8 under the bonnet, it's a match for any Macan.
Remarkably, 2022 marks 120 years of Skoda motorsport, and to celebrate, the Czech brand has been busy restoring one of its most iconic racers. In 1957, Skoda entered the world of sports car racing with the 1100 OHC Spider, an open-top roadster putting out 93 horsepower from its tiny 1.1-litre engine. Weighing in at just 550 kilos, it went on to have some success in competition behind the Iron Curtain. Just two were built to compete to the end of the decade. In 1960, though, Skoda revealed this, the 1100 OHC Coupe. Essentially the same car, but with a roof. The Coupe was more aerodynamic and driver-friendly, perfect for endurance events. This is the car that Skoda has restored. Only two were built in period, racing with the factory team until 1962, before being sold to privateers. It isn't every day, though, that a brand celebrates 120 years of competition, so Skoda tracked down the original cars. One had been crashed, but the remains were purchased from a private collector in 2014. The other car was destroyed in a fire, but its engine was saved. There wasn't a lot to go on then, but Skoda still had some original drawings and photographs, so commenced building one good car out of the two wrecked ones. The results are incredible. Every nut and bolt is as it should be, with Skoda engineers combining old and new restoration techniques. Much of the aluminium bodywork from the first car was intact, but the accident-damaged sections were recreated with help from the company's prototype centre, which turned old 2D drawings into 3D visualizations. The 1mm thick aluminium could then once again be hand-beaten into shape with absolute precision. Apparently the engine didn't need much work. It had only raced a few times before the fire, so it wasn't too worn. Revving to 8,500 RPM, it could get the lightweight racer to an impressive 124 miles per hour. But while the two wreckages gave Skoda most of the parts they needed, several smaller parts still needed to be tracked down. To complete the car, an old steering wheel from a pre-war Popular was found, as were some 1,200 door handles and some switchgear from a 50s Octavia saloon. The finished product is sensational and will now be a permanent part of the brand's museum collection.
Join us again next week on Auto Mundial as we check out BMW's new X4.